Hafaday. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Legislative Hall this evening. The Committee on Finance and Taxation, General Government Operations and Youth Development now convenes this hearing. For the record, my name is Mary Torres, Senator Mary Torres. Our chairman of the Committee on Finance, unfortunately, is under the weather today. We hope that he gets well soon, but he asked me to convene this public hearing on his behalf, on behalf of the committee. So the Committee on Finance now convenes this hearing, and in accordance with the open government law, public notices for today's proceedings were sent to the media on April 21st and again on April 26, 2016. For the record, today is Thursday, April 28, 2016, and the time is now 5:53 p.m. 5:34 p.m. I think we started the day at 5:53 a.m. And thank you for paying attention. The committee will hear and accept testimony, both oral and written, on the following items: the nomination of Christine W. Baleto for the position of Director, Department of Administration, and her length of term will be at the pleasure of Maga'Låhen, Guåhan. I'd like to first begin by acknowledging my colleagues who are present with me here tonight. We have Senator Roy Respicio to my right, Senator Tommy Morrison. To my left, we have Senator Narissa Underwood, Senator Brant McCready, Senator Tony Atta, and Speaker Juan Pat. Thank you for... And Vice Speaker B.J. Cruz, I'm sorry I didn't see you. He's usually quite obvious, but tonight he's a little shy and quiet in the corner. I'll go over some general rules for this public hearing. Individuals wishing to present testimony are asked to sign in with the staff. The table is to our left there, and please ensure that you indicate whether you're supporting, in favor, or against the nomination. We'd also like to let you know that any written testimony may be read into the record. And if you have testimony that is rather lengthy, in consideration of the full house that we have tonight, please try to limit your remarks to about 5 minutes. And I just want to also mention that when you speak, we'll have one person at a time, and I'll call you up and acknowledge you. And when you do, please ensure that the microphone button is turned on, the light, so that you can be recorded and we can make a record for the committee report. So I'd like to now begin the nomination hearing for Christine Baleto. And we have signed up about 6 people that have signed up to testify. If you're not on the list but still wish to testify, there's still an opportunity for you to. So if I may, I'd like to call the first 3 people up just by order of their signing in. Ms. Mana Silva Tyron from GITA, Mr. Robert Underwood from the University of Guam, and Ms. Catherine Kakigi from the Department of Administration. May you please join us at the table? Okay. So then with that, I will, Mr. Robert Underwood, you indicated that you will do oral testimony. So then I'll go to the next person, Mr. Tony Lamarena, Senator. Please join us. Ms. Lisa Natividad. Please join us. And Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson. So if you'd like, I would offer anyone who wishes to go first. Otherwise, we can go by order of my left to right. Madam, I've been trained not to disclose the age of the witness. So may I call the Attorney General to speak first? Beauty before age, ma'am.
Thank you so much, Senator, and good evening to all the senators. It's my pleasure to be here. It's such a nice panel to be up here with these to testify first. And I also want to acknowledge Christine Baleto, her family, and the entire DOA staff back here. I'm here to testify. I'm Attorney General Elizabeth Barrett Anderson, and I'm here to testify in favor of Christine. I've known Christine for about 15 years, and by the way, I do have my written testimony in there, but I won't read from it. I've known her for about 15 years, and I became first acquainted with her during my tenure as a juvenile drug court judge. And Christine at the time was the executive officer for Sanctuary. And because Sanctuary does take care of youth at risk and youth who use or abuse drugs are youth at risk, I was able to collaborate with her on programs and alternatives for youth who are engaged in drug abuse, whether it's alcohol or other kinds of substances. And I found her to be very dynamic, very dynamic. She was always on point. She always had a great idea. And more importantly, she was very methodical. We talk about a lot of issues involving the youth, and she had so many ideas, and well, how do we do this better, or how do we do that better? After I left juvenile drug court and she left Sanctuary, I then met her when she went into private business and opened the wonderful establishment called Fruits. Then I got to know her as a businesswoman. And it wasn't a far stretch from her days of running Sanctuary as a business, because I remember her telling me that when she got to Sanctuary, it was in the red. And when she left Sanctuary, it was in the black, and it had funds. I was very impressed. And I think she took her business acumen that she's always had, and what she had in running Fruits, and Fruits is a very, very successful company. So I think she's got that skill and talent. I often said to her, you know, Christine, you need to go into government service. Government needs someone like you. And she says, oh, no, Judge. I'm going to stay in the business sector, and my husband and I, we have our plans. And then when I heard she was nominated to the Director of Administration, I went bingo. I was looking forward to working with her. I gave her about 30 days or maybe 45 days before I finally went down and knocked on her door about an issue. And I said to her that I remember working with her, I look forward to working with her, and I advised her to keep her business acumen when she makes judgments in government, because her gut and her business skills and her business knowledge and her organizational knowledge is what I think is important, especially in the agency. I think her staff calls DOA the mothership, especially running the mothership of the Department of Administration. We've already worked together on 2 issues. She's asked for an opinion. She's written for an opinion on 2 issues, and I'm still working with her on that. And I look forward to working with Christine. I explained to her that her agency has a vast wealth of institutional knowledge. A lot of the employees of the Department of Administration know their jobs really well. They're a good bunch of employees, good government, solid employees. And I certainly encourage her to trust the advice and counsel of her staff. If for some reason she has a little question, I said, just give me a call. I'm right upstairs on 9th floor. She's on 2nd floor. I encourage the Senate, the legislature, to confirm her, and I absolutely look forward to working with her once again. Thank you.
Thank you, General Anderson. Ms. Natividad, would you like to speak, please?
Buenas Tenahafade, Senator Torres, and other esteemed senators of this panel. My name is Lisa Natividad, and I'm a professor at the University of Guam who stands in full support of the confirmation of Ms. Christine Baleto to the position of Director of DOA. I have known Christine for nearly 20 years, having met her in her capacity at Sanctuary Incorporated, where she served as the Executive Director and I as her deputy. While our tenure there was over a 5-year period, we continued to work together, serving on various nonprofit boards as well as engaging in a business partnership. I can go on and on about Christine's many different accolades, to include being Businesswoman of the Year for the island, as well as having earned her master's degree in business and her more recent near completion of her coursework towards becoming a CPA. But I think there really is only one point that I want to make clear about her, and that is that she would be like an amazing asset to the government of Guam. You know, there's few in our generation that have not become employed by the government, and so it's really interesting to me that she has such a late entry into the government system when her skills really serve to assist the local government. Her expertise and skills in financial management and her astute abilities at managing resources not only pulled Sanctuary Incorporated out of the hole on numerous occasions, but more importantly, left Sanctuary in a very positive financial position following her tenure as executive director. When she started her employment with Sanctuary, she inherited 3 years of bad financial audits, to include the imprisonment of the organization's CFO for embezzlement. However, with her tenacity and financial savvy, she was able to work with the IRS to clear Sanctuary's status to that of having no question cost audits in subsequent years. In addition, she left the organization with a legacy of completely financed permanent facilities in Maimai, as well as an endowment fund in the amount of nearly $300,000. I can attest to Christine's ethic of hard work, intelligent beyond most people's measure, and compassion that allows organizations such as Sanctuary to provide much-needed services to the island's community. Since her appointment to DOA, I have personally tasked her to come up with a solution to the government of Guam's retirement dilemma, as I've reminded her that unless a solution is presented, she and I and others of our generation of service will not be able to retire. True to her form, I was pleased to read in the paper recently that she has already begun to tackle this daunting task. In closing, I would just like to say that it would really be the government of Guam who's the lucky and profitable entity in the relationship, should she be appointed and confirmed to her post at DOA. Sidus Masi.
Sidus Masi, Ms. Natividad. May I ask Senator Lamarena?
Good evening, Senators. My name is Tony Lamarena. I was going to have a written testimony, but I retired recently and realized I don't have access to a computer and a printer. But I'm here to testify in favor of Christine. I mean, my relationship with Christine is primarily, I have for years have been active with a lot of nonprofit organizations, and Christine, as a businesswoman, has played an active role in ensuring that her businesses contribute to the community. You've heard accolades from both prior speakers, be it the sanctuary or be it in government service or in a board or commission in the government of Guam. But I think when you look at the soul of a person, it's how they give to the community. And I think that Christine proves that. The Department of Administration is the heartbeat of the government of Guam. They handle the cash, they handle payroll, they handle procurement. I mean, without the Department of Administration, good, strong leadership in the Department of Administration, the government of Guam comes to a standstill, comes to a halt. And I'm glad that the legislature, is finally hearing her confirmation, because I really think that we can't afford to make this government stop. We need continuity in the government of Guam. I was here, I think just a little over a year ago, to testify for my very good friend Tony Blas, and seeing his confirmation hearing being delayed as well. And here we again run into the same situation. Continuity in the government of Guam is very important, and we really need to put aside our differences and make sure that this government runs smoothly. And I totally support Christine. I think she'll do a fantastic job, and I ask for your support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. President Underwood, because you're the hobing Guinini. Gila masa.
Okay. Utungan agwa mas hoping.
Kasi yun kung tusi it.
Okay. Buenas tardes, Hafaday, Senator Torres, and members of the panel. I wholeheartedly support the confirmation of Ms. Christine Wampat Baleto as the Director of the Department of Administration. I've known Ms. Baleto on a personal and professional basis, and I believe that she has the necessary skills and professionalism to carry out the complex activities and responsibilities that are required of the Director of the Department of Administration. As you well know, probably more than most people, DOA is in many ways I don't know whether it's the heartbeat, I think it's more the central nervous system of our government. It regulates the functions and finances of our line agencies, monitors and determines the cash allotments to autonomous agencies, and provides guidance on personnel and financial practices. Managing this agency requires a knowledgeable, ethical, and experienced professional. Ms. Baleto has the requisite skills, and she is both an experienced businesswoman as well as public servant through her work in sanctuary. Additionally, she is superbly qualified. After all, she earned a Master's of Business Administration from the University of Guam in 2003. So she's a proud Triton, and I hope that she remembers her alma mater in carrying out her functions. I hope I don't ever have to visit her on a personal basis. But I know that even when she will have to make difficult decisions, and she will use her professional experience, educational background, and personal values to be fair and equitable. So that's why I'm enthusiastically endorsing her confirmation. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. And do any of my fellow colleagues have questions for the panel? I want to welcome Senator Tina Muñoz Barnes. Thank you for joining us, Senator. Any of my colleagues have any questions for the panelists? No? Thank you very much for your testimony this evening. I've noticed that a couple people have come in. There's testimony from Mr. Philip Flores. Are you interested in giving oral testimony as well? Yes?
Yes, I am.
Okay. All right. There's a new sign-up sheet. So I'd like to then call up to testify Mr. Phil Flores, Ms. Christina Blas, and Ms. Joanne Brown. Please join us at the table.
Ladies first.
Oh, no, I defer to you.
Is there a Christina
You're
Blas?
more senior, more handsome.
Yes, okay.
Oh, this be you. Oh, age over beauty.
Hi, Christina. Please join us. Thank you. And we can begin with the gentleman, please.
I offered it to Joanne first, but she turned it down. Thank you. Members of the committee, I'm Philip Flores, and I come here today to humbly ask for your support for the nomination of Christine Baleto to the position of Director of the Department of Administration and to answer any questions you may have of me. I have known Chris for more than 10 years and closely since she embarked on her entrepreneurial venture with Fruits, which I am proud to say, with Chris's permission, is a valued and trusted client of Bank Pacific. This has allowed me to watch Christine to take an idea, make a plan, build a team, risk her own money, and invest long hours to build one of Guam's few local women-owned businesses. We can all be proud of that. In fact, Christine was honored by the legislature in 2007 by Resolution 48 relative to recognizing and congratulating her on her selection that year as 2007 Businesswoman of the Year. I have also watched her give back to the community by leading Sanctuary and most recently serving on the board of the Port Authority of Guam. When I saw the news that Chris was nominated by Governor Calvo to lead the Department of Administration, I asked myself, why would she take on a position such as this? She would have no control over revenues. Her expenses would be largely driven by a budget over which she would only have minimal control in putting together. and her employees would see her as someone who's only going to be there for a few years. But the answer came to me, and it was simple. She wants to help our island anywhere she can, any way she can, and this is a great opportunity for her to do so. So in summary, I ask you again to support her nomination. Christine's smart, she's hardworking, dedicated, honest, and so important for a position such as this, she's willing to stick her neck out to put her name and reputation on the line so that she can help the people of Guam. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flores. Senator Brown?
Thank you very much. It's unfortunate the oversight chair actually isn't here because my initial comments were intended for him, but I'll probably relay it anyway.
Okay, for the record, he's ill today.
Yes, I understand. I'm sure he'll get the message. I agree with Phil. I think many of us who have known Christine Baleto and had the opportunity to work with her recognize the exceptional capability that this woman has. I had the good fortune of working her most recently as a member of our port board, and we had wished we could return her to the port board, but the governor had other plans in nominating her to serve as the director of administration. I was highly disappointed, though, and I like the tone of this hearing because I think this is how it should have been from the very beginning. And I know my comments are not intended for all members of the legislature because all members of the legislature don't share the same sentiment the oversight chair did when his immediate response to her nomination was this toxic reception that she received by simply being nominated. I think we all know, if you've dealt with the government of Guam, and certainly you as members of the legislature are very familiar with this, those of you that have served in administration or serve now, realize that being the director of administration, as Phil Flores relayed, is a very thankless job. At the end of the day, you appropriate funds. And whether we like it or not, we have a tendency to set the budget, and we spend a lot of time looking at revenue projections and hoping that when we set the budget for that year that we've hit the target and that hopefully the revenues are going to come in. All of you that are seasoned know that when revenues come into the government of Guam, they don't come in 12 equal monthly installments. That would be nice. I think life would be wonderful. Then we would assume everything you appropriate here in the Guam legislature, including the salaries of the government employees, that there would be no hiccups and everything would get paid and every vendor in the government of Guam would get paid and life would be wonderful. We know that's not the reality. There are many more demands than we have the capability of funding and serving. And yet it's hard sometimes to make the tough decisions because everything's important. A lot of things are critical. When you look at the human aspects and the impact that happens to people that don't receive the support and funding, it becomes very personal. And no one wants to hurt anybody. But this attitude, I have to tell you, and trust me, it's been a long time since I've sat in your seats. I mean, my first election was like 22 years ago. Another time when I was much younger, much smarter, and knew an awful lot more than I know now. But the attitude that by being nominated, by taking this tremendous challenge, which few have the capability of doing, quite frankly, you can always get people for the job, getting capable people, getting experienced people, level-headed, hopefully, with a little bit of political savvy sprinkled in. That's pretty tough. And I was really disappointed when that was the reception to Christine Baleto, because she hadn't even walked through the door. Those of us that have worked with her, that know her, know what her capabilities are. And she didn't even get a chance to present that, as you're hearing today by many people that are here to support her. Instead, she got threatened. I mean, does anyone even begin to believe that tax refunds are being paid out and have been paid out for the past several years by this administration? Because the oversight chair threatens that if you don't provide these payouts to the community, I'm not going to address your confirmation. Does anyone really believe that? I have to say this because this has bothered me. It bothered me since I was here for Tony Blas's confirmation. I was here for his confirmation to the Bureau of Budget, and I was here most recently when he was nominated to take over the Department of Administration. And Tony, La Morena, Carlotta, Leon Guerrero, and I sat in the media room after our testimony and watched him get dragged through the mud by certain members of this legislature. Totally undeserving. There is very few people, and I assessed, anyone here in the Guam legislature can stand up and tell me you could even equate his years of experience in finance, his educational background, his administration of departments, his service in the Guam legislature and oversight committees that sit here and treated him as badly as they did. And then, of course, when he was here for a state funeral, my goodness, we couldn't give him more reverence. And that, to me, is not okay. That is not okay. He didn't deserve to be treated like that. And again, the same threats that were levied against Senator Tony Blas are the same threats that Christine was welcomed with by certain members of this legislature. We realize we all have tremendous challenges. This is not an easy seat to sit in. Neither is yours, neither is the governor of Guam. We have tremendous expectations and a lot to do, and not all the money in the world to do it, as much as we'd like to think that. But I think when someone stands up and is willing to accept the challenge, which is a tough challenge, you don't have a whole lot of people standing in line that have the capability of really doing this job. They might want the position, they might want the title, they might want the salary, but they may not have the wherewithal to do what needs to be done. I think Christine Baleto represents that. She's demonstrated that. Many years ago, I first met her when she came to visit me when I was in the Guam legislature, when she was initiating, just starting off with her work with Sanctuary. And I thought, my goodness, this lady's very smart, she's very sharp, she's very articulate, and she's working for Sanctuary. Why is that? Because I know there's many other things she could dedicate her time and resources to, because she had the wherewithal to do that. Thought maybe I could appropriate her to be a Republican senator or something, But that Wampat name, I don't know. Tried, and just tried, That would be like life-changing to the history, the politics of Guam. We get a Wampat to run as a Republican. But she was very, very focused on what she wanted to do and very mission-driven. And yet she has the most pleasant personality. And I thought, wow, this is really somebody who's going to go somewhere in life. And fortunately, years later, when I was assigned to the Port Authority, I was able to work with her. The finances and her meticulous review of it, I have to say, kept us on our toes. And that's good. That's what she needed to do, to ensure that we were properly spending funds, that we were accountable. I think the success of the port, including the fact that we've just completed our 4th-year audit. We are a low-risk auditee. We join a very small club in the government of Guam. I know you might be shocked that that's actually the Port Authority of Guam, but we do. We operate in the black. We don't spend more money than we have. Our people get paid their salaries. They don't have to deal with threats of payless paydays. Our vendors are paid. And a lot has to do with the firm direction that she provided on the board, particularly with regards to looking at our finances and ensuring accountability in our operations. I don't doubt those of you that are here will favorably consider Christine Baleto's nomination. She has a tough job ahead of her. I did ask her as recently as yesterday, are you sure you want to do this? And she said, you know what, it's tough. I haven't had lunch today. But you know what, this is very interesting. I really think I can do something here. And I think with that kind of drive, she's going to do well. It's an unfortunate circumstance that we're here. And we're here because a good friend and former colleague of mine and some of you has passed away. He did a wonderful job. Tony was described as our superstar. And I have to concur with that, even though I had some differences, as we do in politics over the years. And he did a great job. And I think we all need to recognize and acknowledge that in spite of the fact that he did not receive the best. His last time here was not the best reception. And there is no reason moving forward why we, who are all challenged with these responsibilities, have to treat each other so badly and position ourselves because we think that if we stand on top of each other, we're going to get the recognition and the attention. I think that's wrong. Nobody can do anything by themselves. And certainly one basic lesson I remember from a more senior member than me, at the end of the day, what you have is one vote. If you want to pass something, hopefully you got 8. If it gets vetoed, hopefully you got enough to override it. But that's a deliberative, collaborative process. No one person is all that. And I hope that moving forward, and certainly Senator Torres, since you're presiding over this hearing, I hope this type of dialogue that we're listening to today and focusing on what's important with a nominee, with someone as special who's come forward and the governor has nominated, is where we continue to move forward to. Because we got a lot of work to do. We really got a lot of work to do. And I want to thank her very much for taking on this challenge. And I'm sure you'll give her favorable consideration.
Thank you, Senator. Christina, it's a pleasure to see you here. And I know you're part of this family in a good way. And I'd like to invite you to provide testimony if you're ready. Thank you.
Good evening, Senators. My name is Christina. The last time I was here, I was sitting here in support of my father, former Senator Tony Blas. Like Senator Brown said, I like to think he did a good job in where he was. And when I heard about Miss Christine's nomination, all I thought about was that she had a lot of courage to take on the responsibility of being that director of Department of Administration. So I have a lot of respect for her for just even taking that on. And the same thing, having her nomination withheld. Today I ask all of you to give Miss Christine Baleto the opportunity to do her part to serve the community she grew up in, to give back to the people she loves as well, by using her skills and abilities to lead the Department of Administration. I do trust that the governor, the same governor who nominated my dad, would only put the same position and trust into someone he knew was just as capable and hardworking. And I do believe that she is. And I am here to support her nomination. So my testimony is very short, and that's all I had to say. So thank you again for the opportunity to speak to you guys tonight, to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Bloss. Do any of my colleagues have questions for anyone on the panel this morning or this evening? I think when I said 5:53 when I called it to order, I think that was the time that I was hoping it would be done. But we're actually, this is a very efficient group. And I think, Christine, what you've got is just an overwhelming show of support without words. And that also carries a lot of weight. But if there are no questions for this panel, may I please ask that the nominee take the table? Thank you. Thank you for being here this evening. So, Christine, you're being nominated. You were nominated by the governor for the position of director of the Department of Administration to serve a term at his pleasure, and perhaps subsequent governors. But if you'd like, I'd like to welcome you right now to give some remarks to the senators,
yes.
If you please.
Thank you, Senator. Is this on? And members of the committee. Thank you for the opportunity to request for your support of my confirmation as the Director of the Department of Administration. My name is Christine Baleto, and I am very happy to be sitting in front of you today. It was a few months ago when Governor Calvo approached me and asked me to serve as the Director of the Department of Administration. After talking with my family and praying, I accepted the position. In the past 8 weeks that I have assumed the role as acting director, I've been able to assess the situation and understand the challenges that we face as a department and as a government. As an entrepreneur and a longtime member of the private sector, I have the experience and knowledge in retail, finance, accounting, financial reporting, budgeting, organizational management, and personnel management. In previous positions, I have served as a manager with oversight of operations of a company to include accounting and finance, sales and marketing, and ensuring that the mission was accomplished while exercising financial prudence. As a chief financial officer, I have supervised the preparation of annual budgets as well as in-house bookkeeping functions. I've also served in a nonprofit organization as executive director of Sanctuary. I've served on many nonprofit organizations as a board member. Family is an incredible, important part of our community. And I just want to acknowledge my family here today, my mom and dad, and my husband and my kids. And to me, I'm a mom and a wife, and what I love most about serving our island community is the knowledge that I can use the abilities I've been blessed with to make a positive impact on the lives of the people of Guam. If it is the wish of this body, I would be proud to serve this community, which has been so good to me. I love my island, and I am humbled that Governor Calvo has the confidence in me to bear the weight and responsibility of the Department of Administration. I would like to recognize and thank the division managers, all administrators, as well as the staff of the Department of Administration who have been patient and have helped me to acclimate to government finances and accounting. I have been nothing but impressed with the hard work, knowledge, and dedication of these employees. In closing, I want to thank you all again and respectfully request your vote of confidence for my confirmation. Thank you.
Sidus Masi, Ms. Baleto. I'd like to, at this time, invite any of my colleagues, if you should have any questions that you'd like to direct to the nominee, to please let me know. Senator Ada?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Ms. Baleto, welcome to the legislature.
Thank you.
First and foremost, I would like to apologize for your reception into the government of Guam, and how you find the courage and the strength to put up with what you went through. I just don't know where you find it. I mean, I think anybody else who runs a successful business like yourself would say, why would I need to put up with this? I can just go back to the private sector and not even deal with it. But it just shows a lot about your character and your strength, that you're not going to stop, that you're going to keep pressing forward and doing what's right. You're going to keep doing good for the people and good for our island. It is a difficult task that you're going into, and I'm glad that you acknowledge your whole staff of the Department of Administration, because not one person by themselves could ever achieve success without the great support and backing of a great staff. And that comes with being a great leader when you have a great staff, because they'll support you all the way and do the things that you need to do, and do it to the best of their abilities so that you can do it to the best of your ability. I know these past couple of months have been very challenging, in that if you didn't get a certain amount of tax refunds paid out, that your confirmation hearing would have been delayed until it came through. And I think Senator Brown said it best, is that if the money came in every month, then sure, fine. But there's sporadic times of the year when we get a large influx of cash, and there's parts of the year where we just get a minimal amount of that comes in.
Yes.
So with you working hard at the department, that you were able to keep pressing forward and getting them paid out. And I think it was wrong, and this is my opinion, to hold any confirmation hostage, to say that you're not going to get confirmed until you pay out a certain amount, clearly knowing that it's not you by yourself that makes that decision or that process happen. It takes not only the people of the administration, but it takes the payments that come into this government. So I thank you for your hard work. I thank you for your tenacity and keeping the spirit and not giving up on this government, not giving up on this body to see your nomination forward. And you have my full vote of confidence, and you have my support. And if there's anything that I may be able to do to assist you, please don't hesitate to call on me.
Thank you, Senator.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Senator McCready?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you for coming. You know what, I always get excited when that panel outnumbers this panel. And that's a good thing.
Yes.
Because that's a voice, and that's why we're here, to listen to the voices. And these people here for you today is a sign, and that sign tells us that we should support the nominee because they support the nominee. And you have gone through, and I echo the sentiments of the good senator to my left. You have gone through 8 weeks where you could have said, hey, I don't need this. You guys take it. And since you guys know so much about the government, then you be the director of DOA. And that's always, as a senator, you have two types of senators. You have the ones that hope you do good and want to see you excel and want to see your division excel. And maybe you have the ones that don't want to see you do good. As far as my partner over here is concerned, we want to see you do good. We want to see you excel. And if you weren't that person, I don't think they would be here, and I don't think the governor would have nominated you. And so it's only to our benefit that someone like you take the reins. Because like Senator Brown said, there's not a line of people waiting outside to do this job, because it's a tough job. It's a really tough job. So my advice to you is, no matter what anyone on this side of the aisle says to you, or create some kind of image that you should be, fight them every step of the way, and the next day will be a better day. And whatever they say, you know who you are, you know your family knows who you are, you know how an asset that you are to this government and this community. You have my full support. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator.
Senator Underwood, would you like to speak?
Yes. Thank you very much, Madam Chair. And thank you, Christine, for being willing to step up, because, you know, I can go on the record that I have known you since you were a student at Truman Elementary when I was a teacher there in the 80s.
Yes.
And she was one of our gifted and talented students. So we have come a long ways. That tells you how old I am.
I wasn't going to say anything.
Yes. But one of the things, and I agree with all of those who have spoken about the complexity of the position you've stepped into and you're willing to take on. But I also have sense from the brief interactions that we've had, especially in light of the fact that I am the oversight chair over Department of Education, that you do have that character of integrity, and you tell it as it is, and we appreciate that. I appreciate that. You had noted that you have had a chance to assess the challenges of the government, and we already know about the cash crunch that you have to deal with, but I'm just wondering, what other major challenges have you assessed during the short time that you have?
Well, aside from the financial situation that we're in, we've also been experiencing challenges in our personnel department. Our system has been down for a bit. We just recently launched our new web-based system, but unfortunately we're finding glitches, and so it's held up the recruitment process, so much so that our employees have to manually rate and rank employees for the many positions within our government. So that's been a challenge that we're trying to work through. Certainly in looking at the government's IT capabilities with our accounting system and so forth, we've got to do some work there. And so I've been working closely with the Office of Tech, trying to see what other options are available to us so that we can come to a place where when to get a balance sheet or an income statement, you can simply press a button and not have to extract information and manipulate it. So that certainly is the challenge. And then, you know, we have some issues with the procurement and just a lot of the misperceptions of how things get stuck there, when in reality what I've seen from the employees is they're very responsive and they're very hardworking, but there's some I think there's some work that we need to do with training department employees to submit requisitions or requests in the proper format and with all the data that needs to be incorporated in order for things to get processed. So just in every department, taking a look at what are their challenges and trying to support the division managers, because one of the things that I've been very pleased with in walking in, and I think it's no secret that there's this perception of what government employees are and what they do and how they operate, and I can say that is not the case for the Department of Administration. Each division manager is very capable. The administrators, the staff, I'm getting fat because they're such good cooks. I mean, their GSA is constantly feeding me, which I love them to death for. Even division of I think we just all eat, but it's a camaraderie, and these people work hard and they're very capable. So I'm proud. And talking about that feeling of what did I get myself into, I can honestly say in the first 2 weeks I was seriously wondering what I got myself into. But in working with the staff and, like I said, the managers and the administrators, really it's their ability to support me and help me get through it, that I'm proud to be their, hopefully, director one day.
Yes. And I thank you for that. And it's really obvious that you have done your homework, and you have nailed exactly what would be the critical areas that you would have to work on to ensure that you serve the rest of the government.
Yes.
Because as Dr. Underwood had noted, DOA is really like the central nervous system of the government of Guam, and you control how much blood the rest of the government will have, or how much oxygen.
Yes.
And so, to the extent that, based on the revenues that come in.
Right.
I'm really big on transparency, and actually accountability through transparency. Maybe it's already possible, maybe we still have issues with, as you had noted, with the information technology.
Yes.
But I really had hoped that one day our community would be able to see exactly, just by going to the website, where their money had gone, what had been spent, and over the past month, by object category, however that would be. I think that would be one of the best ways that we can restore confidence in government. It's just by making that possible. And I know that I had mentioned this years ago, but it seems to be just an impossible thing to achieve. But I'm hoping that we would have, it's just like when we have our own personal accounts, right?
Yes.
We can go online and we would know exactly what had already come in and what we had spent. And so I was hoping that one day we could somehow achieve that level. But then, although we can't manipulate it, but the community would know exactly where it is.
Well, I know that's one of the activities that the Office of Tech, led by Frank Lujan and Joey Manabusan, that they're taking a look at. So, it is one of their projects.
Thank you very much, and I do support your nomination. Thank you again.
Madam Speaker, would you like to address the nominee?
Yes, I would. And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity. I'd like to disclose that Christine, yes, is a one-pat. She's my niece. Her mother and I are first cousins. And you forgot to mention Amy, that she's here supporting you as well.
I'm sorry, sister.
And I know everybody want to say, of course, how long they've known you, but I've actually even known you before you were even born, because your parents were living with us and they were discussing how much they want to have you be a part of the family. So that's how far back I guess we go. I'd like to let everyone know too is that in your appointment, of course, we had this conversation in terms of your confirmation. And you became very versed, of course, of the legislative process. And I really believe that speaks to your character. That I feel that you've used the experience that you've went through in the number of weeks in which your confirmation had not gone through. And I really believe it has made you stronger. It made you more knowledgeable of government process, made you more knowledgeable also about matters under your jurisdiction. And I say that primarily because I've sat in literally hundreds. I can say hundreds, I guess, because I'm probably the longest serving senator here so far. And I've had appointees come before the legislature, and as early as they could schedule their appointments, and literally some of them don't even know much about the department or the agency that they're going to be heading. And you're able to come here now and basically speak to exactly the functions of the Department of Administration. And I think also by virtue of your own personality and character, that is a testimony of the people who are here who are supporting you. And they're not here to save their jobs. because I've spoken to several members of your staff, and that they're really very happy to have you on board. And it was even to the point where some of them have actually said that two of the best directors they've ever had was former Senator Tony Blas and yourself. So that definitely speaks, as very well to, your character. And that's why sometimes I think, as much as I say that, as much as I would personally like to have public hearings, for all appointees and even legislation, there are processes, of course, in both branches of the government. And but it doesn't necessarily mean that the system is bad. And like the former senator said, it's, everybody, like everyone's up here, are all different, and we would have, function differently and operate differently and have public hearings as quickly as we want, and others may hold off. But it surely does not mean that the process is bad. And I say that because I know you've taken the process. It's like you've taken the bad thing and you've turned it around. You've turned it around to be able to make it work for you in your department and to work with your people. So it just made you more knowledgeable when you come here today and you respond to some of the questions. And I would ask you those questions, but I'm not going to put you in a spot.
Thank you.
And you don't have to ask whether I'm going to vote for you or not, because you know that already. So I just like to, I asked you, I remember when you asked me, we had that conversation, should I? And you're right, one of the things was, why should you? And you're right, I did in the family. I tried very hard to recruit her to run as a senator on the Democratic side. But I know where your heart is in terms of your training, your experience, your education, and also to give you an opportunity, really, I think, would just make you a well-rounded candidate later when you learn about government operations and finances. So you use this experience to get you ready in 2 years. Thank you.
She did exactly tell me that in the last conversation, almost verbatim.
So I think I know the source of the rumor that Christine is going to be picking up a packet. But can you please let us know so that we have a gauge of. But you touched on a lot of things, your observations of the Department of Administration, some of the weaknesses within the department, areas of concern, and all of that. And I think whenever you're dealing with a department, no matter what your resource challenges, there's always a need to not only retain and have a succession plan, but to also educate and train personnel. And I believe that's part of your duties within the Department of Administration. But have you had a chance to think about what you would do within your parameters right now and your challenges of ensuring that you can maximize as best as you can the training and educational opportunities for personnel in the government?
We're looking at that, and also strengthening each of the divisions, because there is personnel shortages. We've lost people either from retirement or from being picked up in other agencies, and so we're really operating at a staff shortage. I've put in requests, which one just got approved, at least for our county department, and I've put in requests for the different divisions of positions that I felt were critical, because also that's the other concern that I have, is that succession training, the longevity of the knowledge that's already in the department. We need to start passing that on and training new coming employees so that we can make sure that we're not hampered.
And then you also have the issue of the Competitive Wage Act appeals.
Yes.
And what is the status of that?
I am proud to say I have the draft on my desk as of today. We promised that we would get it out by the end of May. It is a very, very complicated situation. I've been briefed by our personnel administrator. 233 appeals resulted in 1,800 positions having to be analyzed and considered before making a decision. So as I mentioned, I have the draft. There's still some technical work that still needs to be done, but our plan is to get out the responses by the end of May.
Okay, thank you. Are there any further questions? Senator Morrison? Or thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I want to thank all those who came and provided testimony in support of you, Ms. Baleto, Senator Brown, and I also like to recognize Vice Speaker Nelson in attendance. I'll definitely take your resume home and read it, because your testimony was shorter than your resume, so you're very humble. But I'm glad you brought up that you hit the ground running and working closely with the Office of Technology, the newly created Office of Technology, and having a very dynamic Chief Technology Officer there that has met with me frequently to look at developing roadmaps going forward. And I believe, as you mentioned here, that key to transforming our government and how it interacts with our people and interacts with its within the agencies to agencies is key within that division and how we build it going forward. So I thank you for bringing that up, because we've been working closely here with the Vice Speaker and my colleagues and how we go about properly staffing it, modernizing its staffing pattern. We know a lot of it is those patterns, staffing patterns seem to be needed for adjustments, looking at where the industry is right now in IT. So we're working closely with the CTO, and I look forward to, hopefully within the summer or by August, hopefully we can get a roadmap going forward to see where we take this government in IT in the next 5-10 years. So I thank you for bringing that up. You have my full support. I thank you for your family for being here. I know you haven't seen me in the gym, but you know, I thank you for taking on this challenge. I look forward to working with you and your DOA family. Congratulations.
Senator Respicio.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and I do understand that Chairman Nicolas is under the weather, and I'm happy that he still decided to designate you the hearing officer, and so that the public hearing can continue. And like everyone here, I'm hopeful that his committee can do a committee report, because we are in session, and speakers scheduling us to vote on Tuesday. And we were in session discussing FESPAC. And just to put things into perspective, the speaker said, just so you guys know, FESPAC rotates throughout the different islands every 4 years. So the next time you'll come to Guam is 2104. So with that, we'll be in recess. So I asked her if she recessed us until 2104.
Nice.
Speaker, is she still here?
Yes.
But
she can hear you.
But certainly she wouldn't have recessed us until 2104, because we have to act on your confirmation before your confirmation expires. Madam Chair, my comments are similar with General Barrett Anderson's comments, and when she took us all the way back to when you were at Sanctuary, I recall that's how I first knew you.
Yeah.
I was, at the time, 16 years ago, I was appointed to the Department of Youth Affairs, and we were going through some transition, we were going through some staff shortages, and I had to move the cottage homes from Talafofo to the Maga'Låhen compound. It was still a separate entrance, and it was a separate secured facility, and we took into consideration all the requirements of the Justice Grant OJJDP, where it was separation of sight and sound, and so we had to separate the status and non-status offenders. And when it was, and that was supposed to be temporary just for the holidays, but because of our staff shortages, I decided to keep them there for a little bit, just until such time we can figure out how we're able to stabilize the needs of the department. And when I made that public announcement and the media covered it, the oversight chair at the time, Senator Calvo, was very concerned, and he had called you and asked you if Sanctuary would be interested in taking over the operations of that part of DYA. And we talked about it, and you were able to communicate to Senator Calvo, thanking him for his concern, but communicating to him that that probably won't work out because it's difficult for the judge to remand a young adult to an NGO, a non-government organization. And, I bring this up, colleagues, because, Christine, you could have been in an opportunity to say, yeah, I'll take it. And certainly if there's a will, there's a way. And if the will of the legislature at that time felt it would have been in the best interest to provide for that in statute, to have Sanctuary be the custodial parent for those kids, I'm certain that could have been done. But you recognize that that's something that should stay and remain with the Department of Youth Affairs. And thankfully, members of the legislature at that time agreed, but that also spoke to the commitment that you and I had to work together. A very strong working partnership that every time a new grant came in, I zeroed out the funding for the Department of Youth Affairs, and we gave that to Sanctuary.
Yes.
And so when we're finally able to move the kids back to Talofofo, remember, you recall you found yourself in a similar situation where you had to upgrade the electrical wirings and upgrade work to your facility at the time.
Yes, the Lujan
and
house.
So you called me and said, I need a place for my kids. And I said, well, Echo Unit is open and you're welcome to move them in. And that's what you did. And I know back then, as I do know now, that you're going to do everything you can to motivate the staff that you have, to ask them to work longer hours, ask them to do whatever it takes, ask them to go above and beyond to make sure that the mandates and the unfunded mandates of this government are met, however they're able to do it. I mean, it's a really tough job, and everything that Senator Brown said tonight, very, very eloquent and articulate as always, to really point out that the duties and the responsibilities of the DOA director, I've always said I imagine is probably one of the most difficult positions in the entire government of Guam. The BBMR director gets to decide what the appropriations are and what those requirements of law is, and then they release that to DOA, and now everybody descends upon you, because before you write the check, you have to make sure that the balances are in those accounts. And so that's why when we have public hearings, it's kind of difficult. You have BBMR, you have DOA, and Benita's here, and she understands this, of course. And the two different. Then you have the governor's fiscal policy team, and when we ask the questions, BBMR said the money's there, but you don't have the cash balance, and in the end, it just means that we just have to figure out how to meet all of these mandates with those limited resources. So.
Absolutely.
And so, given that you've been there for 60 plus days, you're not walking away, right?
Kathy asked me that like every day for the first 2 weeks, especially after I read the audit. No, I haven't left yet. I think I'm going to stick around if you give me the opportunity to serve. Thank you.
I mean, it's good that we're laughing tonight, but at some point, although the honeymoon ends, I would hope that the collegiality and the discourse remains respectful, because and it's a two-way street. Sometimes we have to ask questions, and sometimes you have to ask questions of us. And in the course of asking those questions, as long as we can maintain some semblance of diplomacy and respect, I think the community would appreciate that. And I think we would be a lot better as a community if we can have that kind of civil discourse.
Definitely.
Okay. So you also have my support, and I hope that this kind of support can continue by way of actual committee report that's filed. So by the time Madam Speaker calls us to vote on Tuesday, hopefully your packet will be ready, and that we would be able to move to put your nomination in the voting file.
Thank you.
Vice Speaker.
Thank you very much. For full disclosure, Christine and I have a very unique relationship. Almost paternal. I have one daughter who is a PhD and teaches at the university, and who was my deputy executive director when I was chairman of the board at Sanctuary. And my ED, though we had some issues about time away from work, we worked it out. So she got her MBA. So I'm glad that she's back and willing to jump in and do some work for this community. So I'm very happy of my 2 daughters from Sanctuary Days.
Yes.
Now we just have to make sure that the facility that we built is going to stay. And so that's another one. But the one you mentioned a couple of things of the problems that you saw at, and Chairman Torres made mention of the CWA. I'm glad that the report is almost there.